All right, it was great to see Michael Wilbon in person late last week.
Did he meet you over at the Gate O on Sunday?
He was too busy with talking to people with gold jackets.
Okay, I got it.
How many people with gold jackets did you hang out with over the weekend?
Let's see. There was a Mr. Dent, a Mr. Singletary, a Mr. Covert, and even though he doesn't have a gold jacket, a Mr. Wilson, formerly wearing number 55 at linebacker, and he deserves one. And so those gentlemen, I was very fortunate to be able to chat with for extended periods.
Before we get into the nuts and bolts of the actual game, what was your overall weekend like? Like, you did a million different things here in our city.
Yeah, well, I froze my butt off in Evanston on Friday night going to the Northwestern Duke game.
Tough loss.
Yeah, tough loss indeed. It was even tougher because we were wearing puffy coats by kickoff. And it's like the coldest 65-degree day I've ever had, not in San Francisco. And so Matthew's in the car with me. You can hear me talking about this. He was with me. And it was awful. It was awful. I love, by the way, the lakefront experience I would recommend it to anybody who can get tickets to go. It is absolutely stunning to go and sit in there and watch a game. It'll be real stunning on Saturday when we play because it'll be like 80 degrees. But that was not the case Friday night against Duke.
I can co-sign that. My daughter played soccer there.
I know, because you watch your daughter play. You know what that's like, Tommy.
It's unbelievable there. Unbelievable.
That wind is swirling in there. And so I did that Friday. And that's as good a time in terms of just the social time as you can have at a college football game in our area. It's just great. And then Sunday, Saturday I went to Olympia Fields, and Sunday was I've never seen offense in my life. I'm a Bear fan of a certain age, which means not 100. What do I know about offense? I'm not old enough to have seen Sid Luckman, so that looked like the best of the Bears to me. Yes. Looked like what I've seen my whole life.
It's the greatest hits album right there.
Yes.
Let me ask you this, but just one more thing on the Northwestern Stadium. I saw Front Office Sports tweet something out, a story about it, that Northwestern has made like 4 times the amount of money or more money on these non-conference games at the smaller stadium on the lake than it would at the old stadium before you guys are renovating it. Did you guys maybe stumble into something, even though you're building this new stadium? Would you guys maybe play a game there a year because it's such a big
You know
hit?
what, Silvy, that's what so I was suggesting that Friday night to people who matter. I was saying, can we play a game here? Can we play the opener because students aren't on campus? By the way, we're not renovating. We're building a brand new stadium,
right.
$1 billion stadium on Central and Ashland, brand new.
Yes.
There's not one pebble left from the old place. But I hear you. Not only do I hear you, I'm with you. I'm in there, and I turned to Matthew, and I said, because he's been going to that dump all his life. So have I. And I just said, oh, my God, this is so great. The tailgating, people don't want to leave. The tailgating is on the lake. Not only is it on the lake, it's up and down the lake.
Yeah.
And you're having a great time, and you don't want to leave except if it's 40 degrees and you're wearing a puffy coat. So we'll get to some time where it might be a little much. But man, you talk about great. That's what it was on the lakefront Friday. So yes, we got into something, and sometimes you don't realize outside. No one complains. No one. Everybody wants to go there. And so my question is, how can we retain some of this? Maybe the tailgating can be there. I certainly would like some of it for the women's lacrosse and field hockey teams, which have won, national championships, plural. So I'd like some of this for them, since that's their real estate and we're encroaching on that with these football games. So I don't know where it's going. I'm just sort of riffing. I probably shouldn't admit that I want that, but I'd love a game there every September. Love it.
All right. What did you make of what you saw Sunday on the lakefront at Soldier Field?
Well, it was clear that, here's why I'm not going crazy like my brother who says we're going, 12-5, because it takes offense time in the best of time to get going. And with a rookie quarterback, it's going to take more than just time. And with new players and with a new system, so you get everything new. It's not going to happen instantly. And I kept thinking, but the defense and special teams, if you subtract Velus Jones Jr., the defense and specials are potentially great. And Sunday we saw them not just potentially be great, but they were great. So that's what I saw, and it's not a mystery. It's going to be hard to pull all that together offensively, even in the first 6 or 8 weeks of the season. It just is. Tommy, you know this better than I do. You know about timing and chemistry and study and all the habits you have to build. And by the way, the offensive line is just as porous as it looked the last 2 years. And if that's not brought together, particularly the interior,
yes,
then it may not happen at all. I trust that they'll get better because the rest of the offense I'm counting on is better. But, it's not a given that that's going to happen right away.
It was, I will admit, and I have, always thought that this is not linear from, the ground to the mountaintops. There are going to be some dips and there's going to be some valleys in this ride. But I wasn't expecting the whole offense to look as bad as it did on Sunday.
Me either. Because I thought there were some simple things they could do. But look, again, there's a reason why the number one overall pick has a record in the last 15 games of 1-14. There's a reason. This isn't specific to Caleb. It's not any of that. And so, this is what we've got. And I expected them to look ordinary at best. They didn't get to ordinary. They were worse, like you just said. But, I'm okay with that. And they're going to look any better Sunday night against Houston? No. Maybe a little, maybe marginally. But I just think that takes a while to sort itself out. Again, I watched Peyton Manning and Troy Aikman when I was covering the league as rookies. I know what they looked like. They wear those gold jackets that Dent and Covert and Singletary wear, and they had nothing as rookies.
If they look like that Sunday night in Houston, Mike, they're going to lose by 3 touchdowns.
That's right. Yeah. Tommy, there's no doubt about that, because I have Houston as one of my 4 best teams in the league with Kansas City, Detroit, and San Francisco in no certain order. So that's what I've got. And I don't think they're going to – yes, if they play that way, they're going to get tattooed.
Yeah.
I thought we had a debate 2 weeks ago, you and I, about like the importance of this game. Like I put a huge importance on winning this game. Like that was, as we saw, the Titans were not good. And you're like, look, there's room for growth. I think we got the best of both worlds where, okay, they're starting out in the ground level, but they still found a way to win. So I got what I wanted. You got what you wanted. Yeah. And now we can move forward and get better.
Well, I mean, but how much better, how quickly, Silvy? I don't know that we're looking at some sort of instant oatmeal here. I don't believe that. I think it's going to take a while. Just because, like we're talking about, offenses take a while anyway. And a rookie quarterback with an offensive line that's less than takes longer. So I'm not sitting on, they're going to look a lot better Sunday night. I don't think they're going to look a lot better Sunday night. And I don't even know about the next week. I haven't even looked to week 3. Who's week 3?
The Colts in Indy.
I mean, the Colts are pretty damn good.
Yeah.
The Colts should have won that game. The Colts should have won that game against Houston, but they didn't.
By the way, are you playing in traffic? What are you doing right now?
Yeah. I'm in rush hour traffic in the District of Columbia. And the East Coast is louder in traffic than the Midwest.
A lot more beeping
People
of the
blow
horns.
their horns. Yeah, like in Arizona, you get no blowing of horns. And in California, they'll look at you like you stole something.
Yeah.
There's a lot of honking.
It's like Boston. You drive in Boston,
Yes,
you get the same treatment. It's loud and angry.
And we don't we don't really want me to get out the car and threaten somebody because I'll do it.
Oh, no, don't do that.
Don't do that.
We do not want
No.
you getting
Yeah,
out of
I'll
the
do
car.
it.
That's not,
Nope.
Michael, come
Nope.
on.
Don't do it.
I'm just saying, I have done it and will do it. Although it's harder, every year you go, it's riskier to do it. I have done it and probably will do it again.
All right. So, this is an interesting transition to make to Tyreek Hill. Like, you're smart at these things. How do you, with nuance, dissect what happened all the way around with what we know? I don't know if we know the entire story still, but from what we saw with the body cam, with the Tyreek Hill story, tell us what happened.
I don't need any nuance. As I just said on PTI, our question with from Tony and me was, what questions do you have having seen everything you just described? And I said, I have no question. I know what this is like to a degree. And more than one thing can be true, and that's the situation here. The officers reacted with excessive force. There's no question about that. They acted excessively, period. Now, having said that, could Tyreek Hill have mitigated the circumstances by rolling down his damn window? Probably. Not automatically and not certainly, because you don't have to, disobey officers to get dragged out of your car driving while black in America. I know that. I've never been dragged out of my car, but I've been stopped for no reason. And you can't get dragged out of your car. Even if he put the window up, he might have gotten dragged out. But he did not mitigate the circumstances by putting down his window. So should he have done that? I believe he should have, and I would have. Did the officers act excessively as was? Yes. As is? Might they have acted excessively anyway? Yes. We've got 100 years of vehicular history to prove it. So I think more than one thing can be true. More than one thing is and was true in that circumstance. I think there's going to be repercussions for those officers because the video, the optics aren't good. Because when you continue to go about it, and the first thing we heard was buckle your seatbelt. Now, we found out later he was speeding 60 miles an hour. But that's not what the officer said at the window. The first thing was your seatbelt isn't buckled. That does not rise to the level of dragging somebody out of a car. Your seatbelt wasn't buckled. You were going too fast, get out of your car. It may not even be it. You're going too fast. Driver's license and registration is where most of the culture goes, right? And I got a 16-year-old sitting next to me, and believe me, this is going to be top of the hour dinner table discussion in our house as he tries to get his driver's license.
And Mike, what do you say to
right
Matthew?
Now he drives only with his father.
If you sit and you watch that video with Matthew, what do you say to him?
Roll your window down. Roll your damn window down. When you get stopped by an officer, which is bound to happen, here's your comportment. Okay, you're not a Miami Dolphin. And by the way, the combination of an arrogant cop and an arrogant athlete in South Florida, that combination
it's a recipe for disaster.
Going to lead to just what we saw.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's a whole different discussion. Yeah. But this is Matthew's hearing the conversation as he sits inches from me, and this is what he's going to hear in more graphic language when we get home.
It's well said. Yeah, that's good stuff right there. And that's why we turn to you in things like this.
Well, it's, sadly, it's learned over too long a period of time. Listen, let me be honest about it. I had a police officer stop me. By the way, I'm invited to local police events, and invited in Chicago too, and I go because I appreciate and am grateful for what law enforcement does. But on the other hand, I've been stopped. I was stopped when I lived in Fairfax, Virginia by an officer in my neighborhood who gave me the "what are you doing in this neighborhood" treatment when I was younger. And I came back at him with, "What the F are you doing in this neighborhood? Because you can't afford a house in here." That was my response to him. Now, that could have led to me being thrown on the ground because that's exactly what I said. No, what are you doing in this neighborhood? Because you don't make enough money to live here. That was my retort. In this case, he looked at my license and he saw my name. And at that point, I've been working for the Washington Post for at least 10 years. He goes, "Oh, Mr. Wilbon, I'm so sorry." And at that moment, then I knew I had the high ground to go even further. And I did. And called him everything but a son of God. Might that have gotten me thrown to the ground with handcuffs? Yes, it might have. But that was the anger I was operating with in the moment. And I wasn't 16, Matthew. I was 30. It still could have gotten me in jail and worse. Could have gotten me George Floyded in the South in Virginia. But that is the anger you operate under often when you are an American citizen having done, in my case, nothing. There wasn't even driving without a seatbelt because there was no seatbelt law then. And this guy saying, "What are you doing in this neighborhood?" That was my offense. So I understand the anger, and these are the conditions under which you operate and you have to navigate. And I took a chance that I had the high ground and did what I did. That could have gotten me in a whole lot of trouble, and that's what I'll be guarding Matthew against when we have this conversation.
Are you surprised, Mike, that they ultimately kind of let him go instead of taking him to wherever the local police department is? Because I think great question, Tommy. That's a great. I think what we don't know is what they were being told also. Like, I don't know if we can hear that on the body cam. I think what happens is the optics of it becomes so dramatic that those guys, they're aware of Floyd. They're aware of even Scotty Scheffler. And so this isn't always racial, though these things often and usually are, in my estimation. But I think what we also don't know is at the time, and remember, there's other officers, we can't see their body cam, and we can't hear them because they're not in his microphone. And maybe they're saying, "Hold up, man." And if they are, good for them. But I think the optics of it is, you're being filmed at that point. And even if you two as a police officer, as law enforcement, are angry, that body cam is going to show to the world what you're doing. And the repercussions could come crashing down on you. And even in Florida, and yes, I'm singling out Florida, and on a short list of places where I don't want to be in any confrontation with officers as a African-American man, Florida would be atop the list. So having had that happen, those officers, they have to have some sense of what's going on. And I think that curtailed their behavior. If they don't know that on body cam and microphone, are they that quick to do what you just suggested? I don't know. I'm not giving them that benefit of the doubt.
Didn't their head of security get involved too? Because it was right by the stadium, and I think he phoned them, or Calais Campbell phoned him, and he got out there quickly. Yep.
And I think that part of it is what, again, we don't know what they're being told. We don't know what the officers on camera are being told and by whom. They can be told by superiors, stand down. And by the way, what's actually worse in some ways are how the teammates were treated who approached and said, "Wait, can we help here?"
Right.
What did they do to be put in handcuffs? See, those guys, a suspension has to be a heavy suspension, a heavy-handed one, or a firing. And so we don't know, but we don't know politically how this is going to go down. Florida's an interesting place, and there's a reason why I said I don't go to spend my tax dollars in Florida under any circumstances. And that's because of its situation and politics. So we don't know how this is going to go down, how much pushback there's going to be against Tyreek Hill and those other teammates. No idea what's coming. I don't think this is over.
All right, Michael, great stuff. Have a good conversation with Matthew, and we appreciate you.
Thanks, Mike. Drive safe.
Absolutely. Appreciate you guys. We'll talk to you soon.
There you go. There's Michael Wilbon. And a lot of unruly traffic too.
Yeah, he's right. I mean, obviously, he's lived on the East Coast for quite some time. Everyone is laying on their horn in Boston.
Like
driving in Boston.
It can get a little. What's the term?
A little spicy here.
It could get spicy here, but not like that. Like that was like in the middle of a New York busy street. You know, like how you see it on the TV show. Like it sounded like he was playing in the traffic.
It did. Yeah.
312-332-3776. We got Aki's A-list coming up. Meller's waiver wire. Guys, this is an important week for the waiver wire if you play fantasy football, because the one bonus of losing your first game is priority on the waiver wire. And this is where you can really get a really good player for the season, because there are a lot of good ones out there. So Meller's got that coming up in 15 minutes from now.